Hey everybody, John at J. Hunto's Garage. Check out this episode of Other People's Projects. I think you're gonna like it.
Welcome to J. Hunto's Garage. My name is Edith. I'm a high school Autoshop teacher, and this is my 1950 Chevy. Look out! I bought this car randomly off Craigslist. My dream car is a 1959 Impala, and it was between that and this. The Impala was $6,000, this was $1,800, so I thought, I'll go with this. What I like about the car is it's a two-door, and it has 975 original miles on it, which I didn't even look at the odometer until after I bought it. What I would love to do is chop the roof, pancake this trunk lid, and put like a little bit more square fender flares on there so it looks a little bit more like a 53 Chevy. The paint, I want it to be pink, of course, pink and sparkly, and the roof white pearl, because her name is May Pearl. So pancaking the trunk is going to be cutting a section out of it and making it flatter, so if I chop the roof, it flows a little bit better with the body line. So the first thing I did when I bought the car was decide I'm going to rip out the engine and transmission, because it was the one thing I could do without a welder. So the engine and transmission are gone. I'm trying to decide if I want to get a new front clip or just rebuild this front end. I mean, ideally, in a absolute world, I would be able to airbag and, you know, Z the frame and do all that amazing stuff, but no one's got that kind of money. So I'm going to do what I can without a welder for now and see where it goes from there. I'm trying to decide if I want to rebuild the original engine. I have a 350 with a 4-bolt main that I don't know if it's junk or not, and then I have a 305 that I've already had machined, so that would be the most likely one to get rebuilt, but then it's a whole new frame setup from there. I think this is my favorite part of the car, because when I was cleaning the 12 pounds of gunk off the frame, this dropped out, and all I could think of was some old man getting so angry because he couldn't find the radiator cap again, and here it is, Herman Franks. So when I first bought the car, I was trying to figure out if it was pushable and if it was breakable. And I popped the hood, no master cylinder. I was like, what the frick? So I look under the car and I have hydraulic lines, so I'm like, there's got to be a master cylinder somewhere. Either way, the brake pedal doesn't push. I find out the master cylinder is actually under the driver's side floorboard. Cool. And we have 4-wheel drum brakes, which was pretty common back then, the only thing they had pretty much. They have this spring around them, which has this one has a bee colony living inside of it. But this spring is for dampening vibration on all of the drums, because it's not really a very solid setup if you think about it. What I would like to do is get a new front end, hopefully, and put disc brakes on the front. I don't mind drum brakes on the rear, but I want drop spindles, disc brakes on the front, vacuum booster, and the master cylinder to be on the firewall. I don't know why, it would just make me feel more comfortable. These brakes are definitely adequate for a car with almost 30 horsepower. I mean, drum brakes, they work great. It's just hard to press the pedal and hard to maintain. You always have to adjust them. Yeah, I mean, like, you're constantly gonna have to do something, which I drove a 64 Chevy from California to Texas that all had 4 drum brakes, no power brakes, no power clutch, no nothing, and it was great. But if I actually want this car to be a daily driver or something that I can comfortably drive, I'm putting disc brakes.
So we were just talking about the differential, what our plans are for it. So Edith, take it away.
I definitely need a new rear end. I need a new drive shaft. It's actually one piece, which I had never experienced before. My husband's son was trying to help me remove the drive shaft, and I was like, just take off the bolts. He's like, there's no bolts. And I was like, just take them off. Just find some and take them off. And there's none. So yeah, I need a whole new rear end, which is kind of exciting, because now that I'm going to have a new engine, a new transmission, I know that the length is going to change, so it's going to be really nice knowing I have a whole new drive shaft eventually. I think I'm going to keep drum brakes in the rear, though. Just, I don't want to be too snooty.
Everyone knows that people with rear disc brakes are snooty.
Oh, totally. Infinity drivers, yeah.
People with 97 Camaro RSs that they named Project Oddball.
Snooty.
Snooty. So tell me about the paint color of this car.
I'm hoping that it was this beautiful seafoam green that you see here, but I don't know why the majority of the car is covered in maroon. And it's pretty hard to tell because, I mean, all rust on this side and we have replacement panels on the other side. But when I sanded down the entire firewall, it was mostly seafoam green. And I'm gonna trust that because nobody really repaints the firewall.
I love these windshield wipers.
I know, aren't they cool?
Those are like jewelry, honestly.
This is the original engine that came out of the car. Straight six, I believe it's at 235 cubic inches. Obviously 29.4 horsepower. Woo! I mean, after buying the car and seeing that the engine, the odometer only had 975 miles, it makes me want to rebuild this and put it back in and make it work better. I don't mind the lack of power. I just want the car to run. Here we have our beautiful distributor setup that I can't imagine how many times he had to adjust in those 975 miles. I have the original intake and carburetor and all that jazz. It's just in the shed. I mean, I think this engine is beautiful for what it was. I just don't know if it's going to work anymore.
Hey Edith, why don't you explain to everybody why that is not a master cylinder and brake booster you're holding?
Because it's a carburetor, Bob. This is the original air filter area carburetor, single barrel, with its beautiful one fuel line situation. I absolutely love rebuilding carburetors. I don't know what it is about the specifics of them or the small little parts or the rebuild kits or just the cuteness of carburetors, but I just love to rebuild them. So unfortunately, or maybe not unfortunately, I am using a different carburetor than this on the original, or the engine that's going in there, so I won't get to rebuild this one. Maybe I'll do it just for fun. So I feel like carburetors are a dying breed, and people who can rebuild them, and like if you can rebuild them, you're a specialty. There's one person in San Diego that I know specializes in carburetors, so that's who I'm going to call if I need to get a carburetor rebuilt. I mean, everybody's doing an LS swap lately, so no one wants to even try to rebuild carburetors, even though they're like the funnest thing in the world to me.
So Edith, how is it dealing with kids these days in high school?
You get one or two that are interested in the car customizing world. You get a lot that don't even want anything to do with cars, and you get about 20% of them who want turbos, they want four-wheel drive, they want lifted trucks, lowered trucks, anything that can go fast, and that's about it. In my class I teach basics and Tech 1, so in basics they're going to learn just if they have a car, how to take care of it. And then in Tech 1, we dive into a lot of engines, a lot of brakes, a little bit of electrical, AC, steering and suspension, just basically just like a step up from what you would learn in basics. You know, if you go into a career field as a teacher, you expect your students to have a certain passion, or like the same sort of passion that you might have for cars. I didn't get to go to high school. I didn't get to have an auto shop, so I feel like in college I really grasped on to everything auto shop. That's the only classes that I actually passed 100%, and my students just don't seem to have, most of them don't seem to have the same drive. Like, they don't understand that a car is the only thing that you can rely on for the next 40 years of your life or so. You need your car to get you to work. You don't need your cell phone. I mean, it's not only just can you fix your car, it's can you tell if someone's trying to overcharge you for fixing your car, which is like when I try to teach something, I say, okay, now make a quote for what it would be if you were charging $100 labor per hour. Now you make a quote if you were working there and you got your parts discounted and you did the labor, and then you get to see how much money you save by just knowing how to work on your own car. Advice I would give to someone trying to get into the industry. I would say that you have to want to work hard. You can't have that mentality that you're just going to make $100,000 a year off of working at a certain place. You have to earn it, you have to know it, and you have to do it. And you have to have tough skin. I mean, any shop that I've ever applied for, they're like, you know this is a shop, right? So we're going to have inappropriate comments. And I'm like, yes, I'm used to that. I'm fine. It's how I'm used to. So, I mean, no matter what, you're going to get in situations where either people don't want to hire you because you look like an HR claim, or people don't want to hire you because you look weak, or people don't want to hire you because they think that no one else will get work done because you're there. You just gotta have tough skin and you gotta work hard. That's all there is to it. Tools you would need to get started. Ratcheting wrenches are a huge help. Wrenches and ratchets, obviously, all 3 sizes. Definitely a breaker bar. I break a bar everything no matter what. Even if I don't even try to use a normal wrench on it, I'm not gonna go through the back and forth of trying to get it, so I break a bar everything. Torque wrench, people used to refer to me as the torque spec queen. I just like to do things right, you know. Honestly, if you're just getting barely started, oil filter wrench. And then, the wrenches are for alignments, and the better wrenches you get, the better you can break that little nut loose, and instead of asking a man for help for his giant little breaker bar wrench thing. So yes, snap-on wrenches have been my savior, to be honest, for the alignment side of it. Honestly, I've been using this WD-40 to keep my freshly bored cylinders from rusting, but I sprayed it on all my little interior nuts and bolts so that I could get them loose. I really like PB Blaster, WD-40, Seafoam. Oh, I love Seafoam. Not that it has anything to do with this car, but those are the little things that I like to keep in my toolbox just in case something happens and everyone's like, oh, well, let me put in a order and see if I can get you some of that silicone. You know, keep that stuff in your toolbox. Silicone, WD-40, PB Blaster, all the little things that you would need. I always keep crush washers and all those washers in my toolbox, and extra drain plugs, because I don't want to deal with a customer having to yell at me about, my drain plug wasn't stripped out before. And my advice would be, if you're a girl, have confidence and make sure that you follow through with what you're doing, because in a male-dominated field, they're going to assume that this 19-year-old, 100-pound kid knows more than you because he's a male than someone who has had 14 years experience and a college degree in it. No matter what, that's just going to be the automatic assumption. So make sure that if you say something, you know how to do it, you can back it up, and you're confident doing it. As a technician, I did not know anything about steering and suspension when I went. I didn't take that class in college. I didn't know anything about it. And then suddenly I get a job in a shop and they're like, hey, replace this, do this, blah, blah, blah. And to most technicians, that's something that comes completely natural to them. Whereas I'm more of like a rebuilder, a perfectionist. You know, I'm specific about what I do. And steering and suspension is not that specific. So it seems easy to do. But I would literally walk around the shop crying, replacing parts. And everyone's like, are you okay? What's wrong? And I'm just like, I'm just fine. Leave me alone. I'm just crying. You have to have the confidence to know that you can do it and say you can do it. But, you can learn as you go. It's all a learning curve. Sometimes you learn how to do something because you break it on your own car. And then you finally are like, oh, maybe I should have looked that up. The specifications, the torque specifications, those are important. I mentioned before I didn't go to high school, so I didn't get high school Autoshop. I got, hey, you're going to college, pick your major. And I was like, okay, I'll do Autoshop. So one of the first things was I had a Honda Civic that had a really weird rattle. And I went up to my teacher, I was like, oh, I found the rattle. It's the differential. There's a little heat shield on the differential. He's like, you don't have a differential. So I was like, okay, sorry, never mind. It was the exhaust heat shield. So that's like one of the things I like to tell my students because they all feel like they should know everything already. No, we don't. We don't know anything until we know anything. Men will automatically assume that you don't know what you're doing or you can't do it. My first job as a mechanic was, I worked at Jiffy Lube, and I was so excited just to change oil. So I worked at 2 different shops. One shop, they told me I wasn't going to get promoted from a courtesy tech until someone else got hired, which I worked as a courtesy technician for 2 years. So I would go to another shop on the weekends, and I would just beg him to let me do lower bay, like let me get my hands on an engine. And as soon as I would do it, he would run downstairs and double check my work, which he didn't do for any other employee there. Even though, like, I remember the first car that he let me do it on was his son's car, which was the exact same engine as my car. So I knew how to change the oil on it. And I mean, once you learn how to do oil on one car, you kind of know how to do them on all the cars. So, tighten the drain plug, tighten the oil filter. I don't really know what to say besides sounding sexist, but as a female in this field, you're gonna get sexually harassed unless you have the most perfect boss in the world. You're gonna get sexually harassed. Good luck. So if you find yourself in a position where your boss is sexually harassing you, obviously if you're working for a corporate company, go to HR, because you're gonna get them fired, which is awesome, because then they have to explain to their wife why they just lost their job. I have a lot of mentors in this field. You know, you don't get into it on your own, and you don't stay into it on your own. My students love Scotty Kilmer. They love Chris Fix, Eric the Car Guy. I love Jay Hunto's Garage, Pistons and Pixie Dust. Faye has been a huge inspiration to me in this. Bogey's Garage, All Girls Garage, that's like a dream come true to be on there. I mean, from this personal car, I use my own friends. They're extremely brilliant. Scratch's Garage, he's helped me with the artistic side of it as far as what colors I should do. He wants me to do lavender, but I'm not gonna, sorry. His nephew, Gaston, wants me to get a new front clip, and he's like really helping me with the steering and suspension engine side of it because he's a gasser and a racer. So it's a lot of different contributions coming together and then just trying to sort them out and do what you actually want to do in your heart. But I mean, there's no way that you can have one mentor or, I mean, Voodoo Larry, a long time ago, sorry, I'm blabbering now, but I saw a magazine with his car on the cover, and that's what inspired me completely to get a rat rod or to have like pink neon lights under my little dashboard. Like, just the way he builds things, rusty on the outside and beautiful on the inside. Like, that's like a true inspiration. Gene Winfield, all the old car builders. So there's no one person that I can credit car building to. It's everything, and you just got to sort it out inside yourself. I have my 305 engine. I haven't bought the rebuild kit for that yet, or heads. I'm thinking I need 64 cc's, but I'm a little bit skeptical on which ones to get. I have my rebuild kit already for my 700 R4 transmission from Summit Racing, and I pretty much just stare at their catalog all day and try to figure out what else I can afford or what else I want to buy from there.
Edith, what's your favorite YouTube channel?
Jay Hunto's Garage.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So would you say those brakes are adequate for a car with 29 horsepower?
My YouTube channel is Mayor Dick Murphy, just like how it sounds.
Okay, for real. Edith, what's your favorite YouTube channel?
Am I supposed to be serious?
No! Edith, what's your favorite YouTube channel? No!
I was trying to be funny.
go broke doing that. Okay, for real. What's your favorite YouTube channel?
J Hunto's Garage. In addition to my passion for cars,
It's all you.
I don't remember what to say.
Rolling in my 5.0.
It is gonna be a 5.0.
Ice baby. All right.